Okay, we'll wait for 2 more minutes. I'm setting my screen. Everything will be ready. I'll start sharing. Okay, just 2 more minutes. Okay, sharing my screen. We are going to discuss Python queue interaction today. We will install a software called ActiveMQ. We will also see what are the internal queues and external queues in Python. Okay, and how do we interact with any of the queue product. But first of all, what is queue? Okay, so give me 1 minute. I'll just open the browser and we'll quickly navigate to ActiveMQ. So that you can also, if you want to, you can download ActiveMQ with me. Okay, and you can do that on the back end. Meanwhile, I'll explain you what are the internal queues and the features of that. Okay, so basically what is queue? A queue is used whenever there is asynchronous interaction. What does that really mean? What is asynchronous interaction? So if an application wants to send data, let me jump here. Let's remove this from previous class and let's draw something. In software industry, there are many applications, correct? There are legacy applications, there are microservices applications. So suppose two applications, application A, this is, let's say, mainframes. Okay, mainframes, and it wants to interact with something you created in a Python batch. Okay, now these two wants to interact with each other. Now the problem is mainframe do not directly interact with any other system except file system. Like mainframe can generate a file and this file can be used here. But I need a real-time system. Like as soon as this guy process some records, okay, I need those records immediately in Python. How do I do that? I don't want it like a synchronous way. Okay, it's not an HTTP. I want it like, okay, as soon as it's done here, there is some bucket or pipeline created that the messages, the data is flown to the Python system which I'm creating. How do I achieve that kind of system? So for that, what we generally do is we have an asynchronous system interaction with the help of either you can go for this file system option or with the help of queues. So queues is basically a software or a hardware, whatever, like it actually has both the things. Basically keeps the data prior processing. Okay, so keeps the data prior processing. And once the data is being processed, once the data gets processed, the data in queue will be deleted. It's not a collection, it's not a data structure. Remember that. Data structure, data will be there for you until unless you remove it. Queue by default is not like that. Okay. So queue, like it's holder of the data, it's a pipeline of the data. And what you do is the system A sending the data here, and it's gone. It's like multiple data sets are here. QB receives, system B receives that data one by one. And as Q or system B receives it, this will be deleted from the queue. Okay. So by default, queue operates in FIFO model. What is FIFO? First in, first out. That's a FIFO model. Okay. And in Python internally, so there are internal queues and external queues. Internal queues means the queues which are in memory within Python. So within Python, okay, if there is a Python program which wants to send the data to another Python, or within their own systems, within their own interactions or processes, you want to keep the data probably in an internal queue. An internal queue is part of Python program itself. Okay, it's not an external entity. So whatever memory Python is using, within that some memory is being shared for creating the queue like this. In Python, we have 4 types of queues. We're going to see that. External queues are outside Python program. So we have a Python program here, and suppose you want to send a data somewhere else, might be let's say WMS or order management system. Okay, so some orders for customers or vendors, whatever. So what's happening? Your Python is processing the data and keeping that in a queue. Okay, so these data blocks kept in queue. And these external systems, there are many systems like that. And one of the most popular open source queue system is called as ActiveMQ. ActiveMQ is from Apache. Okay, and now it's got actually modified by modified, and its new name is Artemis, but we still be using ActiveMQ for our demo. Okay, so ActiveMQ is very popular for queuing mechanism. Market leader in licensed software is IBM MQ. Okay, and all these MQ softwares are basically doing this operation, like holding the data, prior processing. So today what we are going to do is we will learn about internal queues first, and then we will learn about external queues. How do you send a message and receive the message? Because this is what we do in queue-based systems. Okay, so this is for asynchronous communication. So this system is called as asynchronous communication. There are 2 types of communication systems, synchronous and asynchronous. Just like I'm making a call to somebody, it will be a synchronous communication because that somebody has to be available at the same time. But if I'm sending a text message to you, then you might be reading that particular text message after 15 minutes or 15 hours. Doesn't matter. So this is asynchronous communication. Okay. So this kind of communication where one system is not directly calling another system, but queue stands in between, holding the data for interaction. That is asynchronous system. Cool with that? Any questions up to this point? Okay, let's go to browser and quickly navigate to ActiveMQ. So you can actually start ActiveMQ download as we learn about internal queues. You can see that the newer components are basically ActiveMQ5, RTMS, CMS, and all. So we're going to use ActiveMQ5. And I'm giving you this particular URL. I'm putting that in the chat box so you can grab it. It's also there in your materials. Here you go. And these are your materials. I will paste that in your materials also. So ActiveMQ, you can download this, and I'm just mentioning download ActiveMQ from here. Awesome. So now let's learn about internal queues. So types of queues in Python. So there are mainly four types of queues in Python. So first in, first out queue, which is also called as FIFO queue, and we call it as a queue object. Good with that. There is another queue called as last in, first out queue, which is also called as LIFO queue. So FIFO and LIFO. Good with that. So let's create those queues. There are two more queues. One is called as simple queue, which again follows first in, first out. And there is one more called as priority queue. In this priority queue, you can prioritize the messages. So whatever you are sending, you can have a priority on it. That's the difference between other queues and here. Okay. So let's create a queue. Could be that. So here you go. And I'm going to create a package for today. Learn underscore day 0, 11. The functions inside queue are same for all the queues. Okay, only minor differences according to the features provided on different objects. But even those are not like big features as such. Okay, so I'm just naming this file as a queue test. Okay, and the first thing you're gonna do is import queue. Okay, and then you will initialize these objects. So the object is, let's say FIFO, and I'm just saying q dot q. That's the first one. You can also provide the size of q. Like if I say 10, so this is the size of q. Okay, so only 10 object can be held inside this. If you're not mentioning any size, basically q is unlimited size. Until and unless you run out of memory, you still have that. We have so by default, if you by default the queue object is FIFO. If you want LIFO, then you have q dot LIFO queue. Okay, LIFO queue is last in, first out. Good with this. Then we have simple queue. Simple queue is also FIFO. And last is basically priority. As I told you, priority queue respects the priority of the messages. So if you have higher priority message, that will be delivered first. That's the difference between the other two. FIFO and simple literally do not have any differences. So I couldn't figure out. Frankly speaking, I directly use queue. This simple queue is, I hardly find any even examples in any of the books or blogs. Okay, so I don't even know why this simple queue exists, but I should tell you that this exists. So I'm just telling you. But in practice, we never use simple queue. In practice, we always use queue, LIFO queue sometimes if it is needed, and priority queues whenever message priority is important. So how do you add messages in these queues? So let's do that. So the method is very simple. It's put method. All of them. Okay. So all of them have put method. So suppose you want to add something into the queue, you can do this way. You have put method on all of them. You can always print. By the way, its name is LIFO. You can always print the content of the queue. So if I want to print it, you can always print this, print FIFO. Okay. And if I run this, you get the queue object. Remember that this is identified as an object. Message is being identified as an object. Okay. If you have many objects like that, you'll be able to get multiple objects like that. How do you receive the message is different. So printing FIFO is not going to print any message into it. Okay, this is not a data structure. Please remember that. Okay, awesome. So now this is how. So put method is for adding the messages into queue. Good with this? Now, how do you check the size of the queue? So you can have size function. It's very simple that queue size function, as a matter of fact. So queue size again applicable for other methods. So here you go, checking the size of it. And run. So you will see all the sizes are 1 because you added one message into it. Okay, so FIFO.QSize, LIFO.QSize, that's how it goes. So suppose I want to, okay, so how do I test this whether I'm getting a FIFO and LIFO? So what I will do is I will write a loop, okay, and add some messages to it. Good with that. So let's do this. So let's write for I for that's fine. I in range. And you provide 1 to 10, and then you put the messages into it. Okay, so message, and what I will do, I will add this I also to the message. So I'll just say I plus message. So plus means basically you will be adding this particular number. These strings are basically getting added. Okay, so you can also convert that into a string if you want, and if you don't want, that's okay. And use this. Here you go. Here you go. Here you go. So what's happening? You are basically adding 10 messages to the queue. Good with that? And I'm just commenting this. This is no longer needed. So what's happening? We are adding 10 messages to the, oops, not this one. We need message to the queue. Got it? So let's see this. Now we will understand why we are doing this. We will understand how messages are fetched when I use get command on the queues. Because when I say FIFO, I should get first in, first out. But when I say LIFO, when I ask for get, I should get the last message. That's how it is. So run this. You see the message content. Okay, so you got 9. Okay, and then if you want all 10, then basically you start to 11. Run this, you'll get file size 10. Okay, now we are good. So let's get the messages out of this queue. So how do you get FIFO message, LIFO message, everything? So let's do it. Okay, so the function is super simple. Get function like FIFO.get gonna give you the first message. Okay, so you'll get FIFO get message. LIFO.get should give you last message. So let's see what are the different messages you get. Cool with this? So let's run this. The method is get. Okay, very simple. Okay, here you go. So you can see that FIFO is basically you are getting 1, but the LIFO you are getting 10th message. That's the real difference between these two queues. Getting my point? So when you should use what? If you are worried about like the last message inserted should be the first message get out, then that's LIFO. But if you are processing the messages as a timestamp, then it's FIFO. Good with that? First in, first out. When to use what? So FIFO messages, like you are worried about the current data first, and later data is afterward, that's okay. Okay, so that kind of situation you should use LIFO. Like a share market scenario, and in share market scenario, you have to use FIFO queues because your order should execute exactly in the same order. If you mess up with the order, everything will mess up. Correct? You are processing employee data. Correct? So one by one, it's gonna get in. That's something which is very important. Cool with this. But suppose you are processing payroll of your employees. So in that situation, last in first out is good because last inserted employee might be the fresher or might be somebody who is recently joined my company. So his payroll processing is pretty easy for me than the person who is there for 20 years. Correct? So if you have situation where last inserted guy is processing them is much easier and order is not so much important, LIFO is the option. I'm giving you all practical scenarios. With that, so these are all practical scenarios. Got it? But for other simple and priority, you can see that basically it's giving you FIFO operations. So by default, simple and priority both are FIFOs. Okay. Awesome. For priority, let me check. We have something called. Okay, one second. Block item. There's something called priority. Let me check how to add it. It's been a long time I use priority queues. Okay, that's a size. Priority queue. Priority queue. That's fine. Send queue. For queue. A variant of queue that retrieves an open in priority order. Okay, lowest first. Okay, so that's a. But how do I mention that? Check. Let me check. Queue. It's not giving me that. Okay, fine, that's fine. Don't worry about that. So priority order is basically order of like insertion. Okay, not order of insertion, basically order of priority. So we can mention priority also. Let me check how do we do that, and I can actually let me check quickly. Hold on. So it's in a put method, I remember. But if there is any variance, we can always check back. So priority dot and you have queue size, mutex or empty max size. Put method only, I guess. Okay. I'll check on this. I'll check on this. It's been a long time I use priority queue directly, but that is only the purpose of priority queue. Will do this. Now you are able to send a message, receive the message. Okay. And basically, so by the way, whenever you retrieve the message, its message will get deleted. Okay. That's very important. So as you receive the messages, messages will be deleted. Just a minute. Okay. These are internal queues, right? So this is internally holding the data. Now, what about external? So now we'll go back here. Now, have you downloaded this one? This is very important. So go ahead and download that. Click on this and it will download. It's 69 MB. So going fast. And I'll show you how to use it. Basically, this is super easy. You don't have to install anything. No installations required. Okay, and done. So I go to this particular folder, show in folder. I grab this. Okay, it's not confirmed yet. Let it confirm. Yeah. So once we grab this, I'm removing this and putting it in our Python folder. So let's grab in Python KK, Python Coding Kings, and paste it here. Okay. So you got Apache ActiveMQ and whatever version it is. And what I will do is extract, right? Extract this. So right click and extract it right here. Write this in this particular folder. And literally after that you are able to start this particular application. It's that easy. So extract in this folder. It's gonna extract. And now once it is started on your computer, you will be able to send and receive messages to external queue also. That is also super easy. Okay, so nothing to worry on that. And for that you are going to use Stomp. STOMP. Stomp is a protocol, just like you have HTTP. Have you heard about HTTP? Heard about it, right? HTTP protocol, TCP protocol, FTP protocol. This is like file transfer and all. Similarly, we have Stomp protocol. Okay. So I think secure text messaging, something, object message, something like that. So this is related to this messaging. Whenever you want to interact, whenever two systems want to interact, they can use Stomp to actually interact with each other. Okay. So I go back and I will just remove this guy, put it in Python KK again. Okay, just for the simplicity. And I'll just rename this because this is not a very big name. So I'll just put it this way. So ActiveMQ 5.16.2, and I have these folders in there, bin and all those. So let me grab this particular path and go to CMD. So CMD, this is what you will do. Okay, and go to this particular folder. So CD this, ls, CD bin. Okay. And what you have to do is you have to tell ActiveMQ start. Okay, and let me grab the screenshot of this and put it in your materials. Okay, so materials, here you go. So download and start ActiveMQ. Here you go. Okay, download and start ActiveMQ. Once you say ActiveMQ start and hit enter, it's going to start ActiveMQ on your machine. Zero installation. Think about that. Okay, so let's wait for ActiveMQ to start with. So let it start. So once it is started, you will see this particular information. But one more thing is important. Connector stomp started. So you should know this. Connector stomp started. So this is what you need to understand. Okay. So and there is something called stomp. Okay, which is that 61613. So stomp connectivity is coming at 61613 port. This is the port I am dealing with. Okay. So yes, let's go ahead and connect. This is my local address. So we are saying stomp localhost 61613. This is where I will connect now. Cool with this? So once it is connected, I should be able to see my console. Okay, where exactly ActiveMQ is running. So first looking at the console, you can see ActiveMQ web console available at my local 8161. Is it though? So let's see. So let me copy this guy and paste it here and hit it. It's asking for username password. Username password is admin. And manage broker. So you will see that this is your ActiveMQ running up and running in few minutes. Like I literally did it in the class, right? Up and running, downloaded also, started, okay, extracted, everything done in like 5 minutes, not more than that. So we have queues. As of now, there are no queues in here. You can mention the queue name and create a queue, and you can actually create topic and all those. Okay, that's fine. So what we're going to do is we are going to send a message to this particular ActiveMQ queue with the help of a Python code. So how do I do that? So for that, I need a stomp. So stomp message sender. So stomp is nothing but a protocol and it's very simple. It's super simple. What you need is again localhost. Stomp was running at 61613. We saw that. We need a destination, like where exactly you want to send a message. That's a queue name. Okay, so mention that queue name. And that's it. You need a message. You're basically done. So let's start our first code for which is called as ActiveMQ message sender. So Python file, I'll say stomp message sender code. Good with that. And now here I will import. You don't need anything else. Okay, this is not some. This comes as a default in Python. Stomp and all. Okay. So my host was. This is just a variable, by the way. Localhost. My port was 61613. Correct? Right? Am I making a mistake? No, right? Yeah. And destination is like a queue name where I want to send a message. So that is destination. You can name it anything. This is just a variable. So destination. And here you say, oh, what is this? And here I'm saying queue event. You name it something different. No issue. So this is like my test Rishi coding kings. Okay, now that's it. That's it. These are the three important things I really need. That's it. Then what you will do, you will create a Stomp connection. How do you do a Stomp connection? So you are going to say connection, Stomp.connection, and you are passing host and port equals to host and port. Simple as that. So here you go. And if you have a username password, you can pass it in same Stomp.connection. So here you go, paste it. And you are going to get connection out of it. So connection equals to Stomp.connection. Host and port equals to this. And it takes multiple parameters. If you open this, you will say host and port. You can say SSL key, use SSL or not. All those details, if you want to, you can always mention. If you are using transport connector, you can use also. This is like a huge thing, but you don't literally need everything. So host and port is most important thing where you want to connect. Cool. Now start this connection. This is very important. This is not a database connection that's automatically started. You are going to start it yourself. So you'll just say connection dot connect or start connection dot connect, I guess. Yeah, it's connect. So connection dot connect. So that means it's gonna connect now, and you are basically done. You are going to send the message to your destination. So let's say message. This is my first message to ActiveMQ. Okay, now send it. So we say connection dot and you're gonna use send method. Send method, you can see this, so destination and body. Okay, destination and body. So what, where is your destination? Your destination is this. And what is your body? Okay, your body is this. Do you need anything else? See this. You can always mention destination equals to body equals to. That's also good idea. But it will be keyed parameter, right? So destination equals to, and you can mention this, and body equals to message. Good with this. And after that, you have persistence. Persistence is whether you should persist that message or not. Okay. And here you can mention true or false. So persistent means if my ActiveMQ goes down, if my ActiveMQ goes down, will the message will persist or not? Will message will be stored or not? That I'm saying true. So persistent equals to true. If I say false, then every time ActiveMQ restarts, the message will be gone. Okay, that's the real cause of this. Okay, then, and this is it probably. So this is done, and then after that, once you send a message, you should do what? Connection dot. Obviously, you have a close method or commit method, disconnect method. Sorry. So you are basically done. So literally did 3 steps. One is you created a connection with the local host and this port. Clear? You can also pass it directly. You don't literally need a variable. Let's do that. And okay, and that's it. 4 lines of code. Cool with this? Shall we send? Okay, you know what? I'll just print a single liner so that I'll get to know that there are no errors. I'm just saying done and run. Stop message, and this is done. Is it though? So come back here, click on queues. Okay, there is some problem. I'm not saying it. Destination is slash q slash test. Okay, that's run. Okay, and yes, that's the problem. We have to mention whether it's a queue or topic. Okay, that's the issue. So we mentioned that slash q, and you mentioned it. So now you have test the KK. It has one message. Let's see if it really has it. Okay, so you can see message ID. If I click on that message ID, I should be able to see persistence is persistent message. And this is my first message to ActiveMQ. Got it? So we literally send a message to ActiveMQ with 4 lines. Take a look at this code. We'll hold for 1 minute. If you have any question, you can unmute yourself. Let me know. Okay, so now what else is remaining? Now you are sending a message. Now suppose you are not at sender end. Suppose you are at this end. Okay, so we our first example. Mainframe is the sender. You are the receiver. How are you receiving the message? So you need a listener. Listener is an active code which will always listen to a particular queue. Now, how do you write a listener code? Let's understand the code first. Okay, then we will write a code. Obviously, we need the connection for sure. And we need some additional things, which is a listener. So listener is generally written in a class. Okay, so we write listener as a class. Remember that. So we write a listener class. And what we are going to do is we will set some connection. Okay, and we write a method called as on message. Okay, and then the only thing here, main thing here is we get the connection. We say connection dot set listener. We name that listener and we initiate this particular class. What happening in this class, I will explain it later. Let me grab this entire file in a listener code and then I will explain what exactly it is. Why we use percentages? Percentages stands for a string representation. So if you are using any string replacement in your print statement or strings, okay, then that is represented as string percentage. Okay. Where are we using that though? Oh, this one. Oh, this is bad. Okay, we should not use this particular thing. That's fine. Most of the books and blogs generally use this %s and %f and all kind of symbols. I took it from the book actually. This example is coming from ActiveMQ in Action, a book called as ActiveMQ in Action. Very nice book by Klaus Ibsen. Okay, the author is Klaus Ibsen. It's a very nice book. He actually gave this example on MQTT connectivity with Python. So there they use this kind of stuff, although in practical programming, we directly give a comma. Okay, but I'm just copy pasting this from the book. That's why it's like that. But I'll explain it in detail what exactly happening in there. So I'm saying this is called as message listener and paste. And we will check this out. What are the different things it's doing? So first thing first, we will be connecting to the Stomp. Okay, create connection. We are going to connect to Stomp. So connection.connect, we did that. And now there is an additional thing here you can see is called a set listener. So listener is a class who is responsible to take action as soon as message arrives in the queue. That's called as listener. Listener is active listener, is basically waiting on the particular queue. Good with this? So we are saying that, okay, this setting listener, the name of the listener is receive listener, or we will say coding king listener. Coding kings listener. Just the name, okay, you can name it anything. And we are giving instance of listener. Now, the instance of listener meaning we are creating an instance here of this particular class, which is listener class. Now, what does it really mean? So it means that this particular class is responsible. As soon as message arrives, it will give that message to this particular class. But where in this class? Okay, where in this class? In this class, there are two important methods. One is on message method and on error method. Okay, so on message and on error. What is these methods are? So whenever message arrives, that message will be sent to on message method. Okay, so I'll remove this count and time and all those is not required. Nothing is required like this. Time difference, nothing like this. Okay, not needed. That's it. All other things are basically junk. Okay, so as soon as message arrives, you will get the message. You can drag out all the header and the body of the message. Cool with this? And this is it. That's a listener. Okay, do not complicate it. There is nothing else required after this. Cool. So listener class is responsible to receive the message. Once message is available, it will trigger on message method and you will receive the message in here. That's it. That's the only thing. And why it does that? Because you already set that as a listener in connection. So connection knows what to do with the listener. So it will hand over the message to on message method. Okay, connection will hand over the message to on message method by default. Cool with this? So that's what we do. So once it is connected, we are saying conduct subscribe to the destination because you need a destination now. So your destination is provided here. So this is my destination. Correct? Otherwise, how we will get the message? So subscribe to this destination. Okay, ID is any ID you provide is just for like unique ID provided by you. And acknowledgement mode, we'll talk about it later. See, whenever you receive the message, what happens? I'll tell you a little bit. Okay, so what happens is this is a queue system. This is a queue bucket, and there are messages tagged into it. And these messages are flowing to the system. Let's say this is your Python code, which is receiving the messages. Okay, so now what happens is this message will flow to Python first. Python grab this message, but at this point, Python code did not say or confirm that it has processed the message. Okay, it might be still in process and it may go in error. Okay, the situation might be like this message is not processed properly. So queue waits for the confirmation from Python, from the client that the message has been processed successfully. Okay, so this confirmation is required. This confirmation is called as acknowledgement. Okay, and there are 4 ways basically for acknowledgement. Most common way is auto, and transacted. Okay, auto and transact. Auto means automatically send. So once you are done with the message, automatically send the acknowledgement. I am not going to send an acknowledgement back with code. Okay, so in code there will not be any acknowledgement code. Another thing is a transacted. That means I will be mentioning that the message receival is complete or not. Okay, hardly used, but yes, it's important you to know there are two ways to do it. Cool with this? So this is what acknowledgement means. So acknowledgement value we are mentioning is basically we are saying auto. Auto means automatic. Cool with this? So that's what happened. So you subscribe to this particular method, or particular queue. ID is any ID you pass, no matter what happens, and then acknowledgement is auto, and that's it. And after that, you keep on waiting. You wait for some time. Okay, time dot sleep. Time dot sleep is basically just for waiting. Okay, so it's a true. Come back, time dot sleep, wait. Okay, continue this particular stuff. Cool with this? You might actually remove this code as well, not a problem. Okay, so let's execute this particular code. So what should happen? You should get a message here. Okay, we already have the message, which is this is my first message. I'll go back here. See, as of now, number of consumer is 0. Once I start this code, okay, see this. Now you receive this particular message. Okay, this is my first message. And if I come back, if I click on this, you can see number of consumer is 1. Okay, and message is gone because message has been listened. Okay, it's already gone now. With this, and the content of the message was this is my first message. How do we access that? Message.body. So message.body is giving you the body of the message. Can I send multiple messages to it? So yes, you can. You can use send to function in ActiveMQ and just send, let's say, 10 messages. So you can just say 10 messages and you say test messages from ActiveMQ and send. You will receive all of them. Okay, here. Got it? My text message from ActiveMQ. Text message from ActiveMQ. Got it? So all these messages are received at ActiveMQ end. With this? So now you learned about how do you send a message to an ActiveMQ and receive the message from ActiveMQ with the help of listener. What's the difference between listener and sender? Sender is just like connection.send method. In receiver, we have to use two methods, connection.set listener, so that we add a listener class. Okay, and the subscribe method, which actually tells like which queue listens to, which queue you are supposed to listen. That's it. And once you add those, basically you start listening the message. As soon as the message is available, it will be quickly grabbing that message and sending it across, and you can process it. So all the processing logic should go inside this functional body. Got it? Inside this on message function body. Cool. So that being said, we are closing this particular topic for ActiveMQ. Now in your project, what's happening? So if you went through the project video in our customer data validation project, okay, where we are validating the Excels and CSV file. If you did not receive that file, let me know. I will actually share that again, or make sure that you have that in your student portal. Okay, your assignment and customer file. Whenever all the errors, you have to send it to a queue. Okay, so let's try using ActiveMQ queue to send the error messages on the queue. Shall we try that? So if we have a connect on Saturday, let's do that kind of activity. Let's try to get an error out of that particular Excel and then send it across to ActiveMQ queue in an error message. Cool with this? So that it will be analyzed by somebody else and then it can be re-triggered. Okay. So that being said, let's stop here. I hope there are no questions, but if you have any, feel free to ask. Even if you have questions while going through the video again and classes, okay, please feel free to ask this in the next class. This is very important, and practice yourself and listen until you do that yourself. It's very hard to understand sometimes. Okay, so let's stop here and let's continue next class tomorrow. Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye bye. And tomorrow we're going to start Django. Okay, Django is very important.